Okay, so U.S. Representative from South Carolina, Nancy Mace, had an encounter with a trans activist at the federal Capitol. This trans activist came up to her, shook her hand, and Nancy Mace claims that the handshake was so, I guess you say, vigorous that it hurt her wrist. Later on, Nancy Mace could be seen wearing her arm in a sling because that's how wrist injuries work. The only problem is that other people were there watching the encounter between the activist and Nancy Mace, disputing Nancy Mace's claim. This isn't Nancy Mace's first encounter, or at least an indirect encounter with the trans community. So many weeks ago, she proposed a bill which would ban trans women from the federal Capitol's bathrooms. I mean, I said state Capitol, but federal Capitol's bathrooms, claiming that she needs to protect girls and women from trans women who are using the restroom. Now, the irony of this is that pretty much all of Nancy Mace's party has been accused of, well, either found civilly liable of rape like Donald Trump, or have been accused of trafficking underage girls and having sex with underage girls, like Matt Gaetz, the former representative from Florida and the once nominee for Attorney General. He's even been accused of that by members of his own party. And the current nominee for Secretary of Defense, who has been accused of drugging and raping a woman in a hotel while that woman's child or children and husband were in the same hotel. These are the people that Nancy Mace surrounds herself with, but she's not afraid of them. She's afraid of trans people. The other thing that Nancy Mace has done when she was proposing that bill is that she used her own experience with sexual assault, weaponized it against trans people. Was the person who assaulted Nancy Mace trans? I seriously doubt that. I'm 99.999% sure that that's not the case, because if it were, I'm pretty sure we would know that by now. But the thing that really bothers me about Nancy Mace is just simple realization. Nancy Mace is the same type of woman who 60 years ago would have accused a black man of touching her, would have cried about it, and then would have had that black man hanging from a tree. Nancy Mace is the same type of woman who would have accused probably a 15-year-old black boy of whistling at her and would have had him lynched. She would have used those tears to their full capacity, and meanwhile claiming she was the victim. So if you've ever wondered when you were looking at history what type of monstrous people would do those sort of things, the type of woman who was responsible for the death of Emmett Till, for example, I'm going to say Nancy Mace is probably that type of woman.